Hello and welcome to today's episode, in which I try out an idea of using pancakes in place of bread to make a delicious vegan breakfast sandwich. I recently posted a video to show you how to make some vegan pancake mix. The pancakes are really light and fluffy, but they do have some structure to them. They don't just kind of break apart if you hold them up in the air. And my brain, as it's often wont to do, thought, oh, we could use that for something else. I'm thinking I'll make some pancakes and perhaps kind of slightly over fry them just so they're a little bit crisp almost, and use that as bread in a sandwich. The sandwich is going to be filled with bacon, egg and cheese. So I'm going to make some vegan bacon out of tofu, show you how to do that. Then I've got some scrambled eggs. I'm going to do almost a bit like how McDonald's do their Egg McMuffins in like a solid piece. So I'll try it, see if it works. If not, I can just scramble it. I'll get the bacon on now because that'll take sort of 15 minutes or so. I'm using tofu from the Tofu Company. This is an extra firm tofu, and I'd suggest getting extra firm so you can get that nice meaty texture. When you buy tofu stuff that comes in the fridge, you'll see it comes in a packet surrounded by water, just so it doesn't dry out. So I'm just going to snip a corner off, squeeze that liquid out. I'm going to do 4 smallish slices, or thin I should say, thin-ish. So it's perhaps 6-7 mil, something like that, 1/4 of an inch maybe. Put the rest of the block back in the fridge, and I've got a few pieces of kitchen towel, so I'm just going to press the tofu on this just to get some of this liquid off, and then the seasoning mix will stick a bit better to it. I'm doing some crafting and I've managed to stick my finger in a pot of alcohol ink and I can't get it off, so excuse the appearance of that finger. Looks like it's dying. So we'll leave them there for a second. We'll start working on the seasoning mixture. For the bacon flavoured seasoning mix, I'll do a tablespoon of chicken flavour stock powder. I use the Massel brand. If you want to keep an eye out, they do a nice plant-based one. 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'll start with a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. You can always add a bit more in after if it needs it. Going to do a little pinch of MSG, so like 1/8 of a teaspoon, something like that. That's going to really help with the umami-ness that bacon has. Small pinch of salt. That stock powder's got salt in it as well, so I'm just being mindful not to over-salt things. Do a heaped 1/4 teaspoon of nutritional yeast, nooch. That's got a kind of cheesy, nutty kind of flavour, and it works with the other ingredients, especially the smoked paprika, and makes a very delicious smoky bacon kind of flavour. The next two are optional, so don't worry if you haven't got them. I'm going to do 1/8 of a teaspoon of beetroot powder. That's partly for colour, but also it's got a nice earthiness to it. And then I'm doing a small pinch of tomato powder. Sun-dried tomatoes that have been, I think, freeze-dried and then powdered. Give this a mix together. Just break down any lumps of anything. There we go. Give that a little try, see if it needs anything. Can add a bit more smoked paprika. It's not quite a full 1/4 teaspoon, but just do it to taste. The flavouring on this is more British bacon than American. It hasn't got any of the sweetness that American bacon has. I'm going to start preheating the air fryer at 190. Yeah, I'm going to preheat it at 190, but probably fry at 180. I'm going to squirt some oil in the air fryer while it's preheating. Just then the air gets nice and fatty. Now time to pack the tofu with the seasoning mixture. I'm going to use a little air fryer liner thing. Just makes cleanup a bit easier in the air fryer. I'm going to use a soup plate, so it's like a big flat bowl, that kind of thing. And I'm going to use that to cover the tofu. Kind of level off the powder. Put the slice in. Make sure to get the sides. So we want all of those edges covered as well. You can do it without blotting it on the paper towel first, but I find the mixture doesn't stick as nicely. So that's what we're after, completely encased. So I'm just going back over, making sure there's no bald spots anywhere. Then I'll tuck these in for, I'll probably do them 15 minutes altogether and flip them halfway through at 180. And I'll spray a little bit more oil, just very lightly on top. Next step is to make up the pancakes. I will put the link to the mix down in the description for you so you know how to make it. So I'm not going to go through that, but it's just things like plain flour, baking soda, flax seeds, salt. I feel like there's one more thing. Sugar, that was the other thing. The ratio is 1:1, 1 part mixed to 1 part milk. You could probably use water as well, I guess. I think I'm going to do 1.5 cups, and then I've got some plain pancakes that I can have later for dessert. In terms of what's the metric for a cup, it doesn't really matter. Just use the same vessel. Again, that'll give you the same ratio. I'll give the batter a light whisk, but we want to leave it a little bit lumpy. It doesn't want to be completely smooth. I'm frying the pancakes off in butter, so I'm just going to heat that through. Because this is an induction stove, you need to bring it up to temperature really slowly, otherwise you buckle the bottom of the pan. While I wait for that to happen, might as well try out the idea for the eggs that I've had. So this is a very kind of gloopy, thick kind of mixture. So I'm thinking if I kind of lob it on, and I might do it as a kind of ring, because then it can get heat from both sides, although that looks like it's going to fill up. I'll put that on for a minute, and I think I'll start it once I've flipped the pancakes. So let's just get this butter around the pan. I'm going to have to do this in stages, I think, because I can probably get 3 in there. Well, these are completely the wrong size. Rachel. Try and separate these a little bit. I think I might do a triple decker sandwich. I'm frying these on a 6, so it's kind of a medium high. Mine goes up to 9. When I made the first batch, it's very easy to burn the bottom of them if you're not standing and being vigilant. Another minute, I think, and then I'll put some more on. There's the eggs. Okay. Yeah, I think that's okay. So I might try and flip them. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Pop that on for another minute. And then I think I'm going to pop some cheese on 2 of them. So I've got some smoked Applewood vegan cheese. I'm going to drop the temperature, and then I'll put the lid on. And then hopefully that'll melt nicely. Yeah, that's exactly what we're after. Okay. So here is our little breakfast tower of deliciousness. And that's looking just incredible. Don't think there's any elegant way of doing this, so down the hatch. Oh yes, that's perfect. The pancakes are holding up really well. They're not just falling apart. When you're frying them, I'd take at least one of the sides down so it's a little bit crispy. Like if you tap on it, it makes a little bit of a crisp kind of sound. And that'll give you a nice bit of structure as well. I mean, that beats a McMuffin any day of the week. I put a bit of ketchup on mine and it just sets off the other flavours. That bacon flavouring is perfect. And because there's some salt in the mixture, it kind of dries the outside of it off, so it gives you a really nice bite, but then the inside's nice and tender. In terms of variations, you could put things like vegan sausages in there, like some Cumberland sausages especially. Be really tasty for breakfast. If you wanted more of a breakfast as dinner kind of thing, you could get like Sainsbury's if you're in the UK. They do their Plant Pioneers range. They do a vegan steak. That would be stunning in there. It's got like a very meaty flavour and texture to it, which would go deliciously with the mild sweetness of the pancakes and the cheese and the egg. And oh. You could make a steak-ish flavouring yourself and do the same technique with the tofu. So you can buy beef flavour stock powder, same as that Massel brand, and you could add a bit of maybe either cocoa powder or 100% cacao, and that'll give you a nice bit of depth to the flavour. Perhaps some mushroom powder, that kind of thing. I'm wondering if it would be possible to make a really large one, you know, if you wanted to feed multiple people rather than standing at the stove flipping pancakes for ages. I'll update the pinned comment if I ever try it, but I'm thinking maybe get the oven on quite high, so I don't know, maybe 200, 400 Fahrenheit maybe. Line it with baking paper, fill up the thing, put it in the oven. Once you start seeing holes on the top, that means that the bottom is going to be nice and baked. Perhaps put another sheet of baking paper on top, then put another tray on top, invert it, take the bottom one off and put it back in the oven that way. And then give it, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, sort of have a look at how long it took to reach that stage where you could flip it the first time. I wonder if you could use that as like a Swiss roll, you know, like a jam roly-poly. If you went to school in the UK when you had school dinners. Yeah, so do the flat pancake and then smear on a load of jam and then roll it up. Maybe I'll try that at some point. Oh, I might do it with chocolate. Sweet stuff never does well on the channel, but sometimes I just want something sugary and sweet. So yeah, I might do one of those at some point. I think the thing that took the longest was probably the tofu, and even that's only a few minutes. But if you wanted to shorten that down a bit further, what you could do is once you buy your block of tofu, drain it and cut the whole thing into slabs, press it, and then freeze it in the slabs. Maybe put a piece of baking paper or cling film in between each slice so they don't stick together. You could either defrost those in the microwave, maybe, I don't know, do a minute at a time and keep flipping the slices over. Once you freeze tofu, it becomes a bit more brittle, so you just have to be a bit gentle when you're flipping them, but it's certainly doable. And then once you've defrosted it, pat them again on paper towel and then go from there. You could even try prepping it the whole way, so slicing it, patting it, powdering it, and then freeze it with the paper in between. And then to fry it, I would do maybe 150, 155, which is going to be around 310, something like that. I'll stick a note on screen for you. Because you don't want it to go too dark on the outside before the inside is heated up. You don't need to cook anything. Tofu can be eaten fresh out of the fridge. And then you could always, you know, increase the temperature for a couple of minutes towards the end. Yeah, I might try that. Again, I'll update the pinned comments. That part of the video, I say a huge thank you to my supporters on Patreon. I genuinely do love having you on board, and it's nice having that little community where I can share things that I'm working on, get some input for video ideas, that kind of thing. I will leave a link down below if you'd like to get in on some of that action. If you've enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you left a little like down below, perhaps even share it with your friends. All of that pleases the algorithm, which we're eternally indebted to, apparently. If you're not subscribed already, just head down into the description, you'll see the button there. Turn on notifications if you want to be alerted as soon as there's a new video served up every week. If you want something else to get your chompers into, have a look at this.